This is Georgio Piacenza, who's very kindly offered to help us out here in Lima. And the thing I love about being 1 year on from our trip to Egypt is here we are, slap bang in the middle of Lima. And Georgio, one of the sacred places that you've brought me to is, I'll let you say it.
Huaca Pucllana.
Huaca Pucllana.
Right there.
And it's a pyramid. So 1 year on from Egypt and we're back with the pyramids. So Georgio, you say that you used to ride your mountain bike over there.
Oh yeah. Back in the 60s and 70s, this was a hill. It was all covered with sand.
And did they know it was there?
It was open to the public. There was nobody protecting it.
But did they know that there was actually a step pyramid there?
Some archaeologists knew, some educated people knew.
Because the resonances with Egypt are fascinating to me. Well, you could be standing beside the Great Pyramid here.
Yeah, it is a very special place. It was built in different stages. It doesn't look like a regular pyramid, but it was built in stages with vertical bricks. It's a different way of building, but yet very, very sacred. It's a ceremonial site for the ancient Lima culture.
And do we know for sure that it had anything to do with the civilization that's here now in Peru?
Well, it's 1800 years old at least. The Lima culture was very old.
But the thing that intrigues me about so much of the megalithic ruins of Peru, and that's why we've come here, is there's so little we know about it. I mean, there are these incredible ruins and beautiful buildings, constructed buildings made of gorgeous stone, solid stone, and yet we know so little about who was responsible for building them.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we don't have the entire history. That's why archaeological science has to reconstruct this carefully. But there are very good, let's say, ideas about what happened, because we did not find enough, too many weapons. Not much weaponry related with this culture.
Right.
So it's good to assume that they were not as bellicose as other cultures.
Sure, but I guess, is it possible that buildings like this were constructed by a civilization that we just don't know about yet?
Yeah, I have a contactee friend. We came here last month.
You know what I love about what Georgio was telling me is that he used to ride his bike over this when it was covered with sand as a young boy. And the people here were largely oblivious to what was underneath.
Yeah, it's an incredible structure. I last came here in 2012, and I think the renovation works have progressed quite a lot since I came here.
So our friends from the Egypt trip last year will recall my friend JP Hague, who escorted me around Egypt and knew a hell of a lot more about the megalithic ancient ruins of Egypt than I did. And he's been here to Peru before as well, lucky fella. And one of the things we've come to today, of course, is this incredible mud brick pyramid slap bang in the middle of Lima. What do we adduce from this, JP? Is this some pre-Incan civilization?
It could be. I mean, the official or the main archaeological explanation is that this was the work product of what was called the Lima culture, which goes back up to some 2,000 years, something like 700 to 1400 Common Era. And this, what we know to have been a loosely organized culture, have somehow managed to tax, organize, produce all the labor materials, and create this incredibly vast site that lasted for, well, over 1,000 to 2,000 years.
It took around 40 years more or less, and that's why they kind of started with the excavations in 1981.
So what's the takeaway from what that lovely guide is telling us? That they're trying to explain whatever the culture was that created this place as a Lima culture, which was pre-Inca civilization, which I guess to my amateur ears sounds like they really have no idea. And it's like a lot of stuff here in Peru that they have no idea really who was responsible for a lot of these incredible sacred places. There was clearly some kind of civilization that existed here, but we know so little about it. And that's going to be very much the purpose of this trip. We're going to be looking at a lot of these megalithic ruins all over Peru, Bolivia and Easter Island, and trying to answer the question, who was responsible for a lot of these megalithic ruins? What civilization accounts for these incredible places? This is just one of them. These are the mud brick pyramids of Lima. But right across Peru, right across Bolivia, right across Easter Island, Chile, there are these incredible megalithic ruins, the provenance of which is largely unexplained. So, Georgio, what I hear from that guide is, unlike Egypt, there's no tombs, there's no burial chambers, there's nothing underneath this pyramid. Is that the case?
No, I understand that they found some human remnants as well. A few human sacrifices,
Oh, really?
but
Yeah.
very few compared with other cultures.
But are there tombs? Are there holes, tunnels underneath this object?
Yes, there are tombs on the top of the pyramid, for example, some of those remnants.
Right.
We will see. Yeah.
Okay.
What they didn't find at this level is tunnels.
And do we know why this place was built?
We have to ask about the mythic and philosophical thinking, the cosmovision of these people. We have to find that out. But ancient peoples in these areas of the world, they chose places that seem to be energetic and powerful for them. Huaca means power, basically spiritual power.
Yeah. I guess the thing that intrigues me, and this is no criticism of the Peruvian culture or anything like that, but the thing that intrigues me is, even coming here as a preliminary observation, how little we know. We don't know a huge amount, do we, about who built these, the origins, the purposes for which they were built.
No, there's 90-something% of facts to be discovered about this place. We only know about the external remnants, the artifacts, and we can deduce how they thought, why they did things.
It's quite delicious, though. It's a great mystery. I mean, it's just like Egypt. The thing that fascinated me about Egypt was you had this evidence of a megalithic civilization, thousands of years old, and the evidence was overwhelming that it was a lot older than
Yes.
conventional Egyptology suggested.
Yes.
Is it possible that that's the case here in Peru as well?
Yes, it could be that the ancient Lima people here detected a powerful site underground. According to a contactee friend that was here with me last month, he could astrally project into the ground and he saw this chamber with a spacecraft. Very ancient, more than 2,000 years ago, when the local Lima culture people recognized the power of this site, they probably also sensed that craft. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but I kind of trust him.
Rather than the local guide.
For these issues, yes.
Oh, well, let's keep on going. I'm intrigued.
So Ross, what's interesting about this site is, much like the sites we went to in Egypt this time last year, is that this site too is astronomically aligned to the movement of the sun and the moon. And it's even aligned perfectly to the ocean, the movement of the sun. There's another point that is curious, is that there have been subterranean radar scans that have been done, and there are these chambers and cavities beneath the structure.
I thought the guide just said there's nothing underneath the pyramid.
Well, there are cavities, but they haven't explained them. And
Okay.
if we look at the size and the scale, we're talking about, cavities a bit like the Serapeum, the subterranean
Wow.
complex in Egypt, outside of Giza, that we went to last year. And there's another thing, is that how can you possibly say that this is a primitive culture when it takes huge amounts of organization and resources to actually get this job done?
But also to get it astronomically aligned.
And to align it requires knowledge. From where?
Big question.
Big question.
We really are going deep into the Andean mountains. You can see why Machu Picchu stayed hidden for so long. They say the Spanish never found Machu Picchu during their colonization of Peru, and you can see why. To get there, you crawl for many, many miles through what is precipitous mountainous country deep into the Andes. It's an amazing journey. So I'm doing it in the lap of luxury by train and then by bus. We're on the bus now, rattling our way along a dirt road up to Machu Picchu. But I take my hat off to Hiram Bingham and all the other adventurous explorers that hacked their way through this deep Andean jungle, probably walking for days or sitting on the back of a donkey, making their way to this lost temple at the top of the hill, Machu Picchu. Very exciting to be on my way there. So finally, we're here in the lost temple of Machu Picchu, incredibly high up in the hills of the Andes. It's quite breathtaking here. Have a look at this.
That's an aqueduct we found about 5 years ago. So 50% of the construction of Machu Picchu is underground. It's all water, all for water movement. The Inca were not great builders, but they were the masters at moving water.
So these are the Inca outside ring of Machu Picchu. This isn't the sexy stuff. The really good stuff's yet to come.
That's right.
Compared to the stonework on the interior, this is actually pretty mediocre.
Yeah, it's a case of the foundations being non-Inca, preceding the Inca Empire, with aspects of relics that we can see within the complex, but the majority of this is Inca, including the
Note to editor, I would step backwards, but there's a 1,000-foot fall right here. So.
Oh, I think you should. See what happens. You're Roscoe.
Where on earth did they get all the stone for this? Where was it quarried from?
From the mountain.
But lugging all of that stone must have been a hell of a job.
Well, there's a lot of it higher up to move down.
Gosh, you can feel how thin the air is here. It's
Yeah,
pretty puffing.
yeah. Wait till you get to Lake Titicaca. 12,500 feet.
Unfortunately, to get to Machu Picchu, ultimately, after the train ride and the bus ride, believe it or not, there's lots and lots of steps.
When we go to Aliante Tambo, you'll see that the climb, which the Inca built, is about that up much of an angle. So how the hell these 65-ton blocks of granite were brought up there is, completely unknown. Obviously anti-gravity or something was employed by whoever the ancient builders were. And everything here was labeled and named by Hiram Bingham, who's the American map maker. He wasn't an archaeologist, he was a map maker. He came in 1911 and he named this the caretaker's hut. He named one of the buildings the Royal Palace, and nobody's ever challenged his descriptions for more than 100 years. So again, that's Machu Picchu Mountain. It's where the source of the water comes from. And the other official entry is around the bend here. There's a wooden drawbridge that the Inca built, which is very clever because it's a series of logs, but they're not too big. So if they wanted to seal the city off, all they had to do is pull the logs out, and that would stop any invasion from coming from that direction.
We're walking down into the area of the megalithic site that sits slap bang in the middle of Machu Picchu. And yet again, more steps. So this is the entrance to the city. We're now inside the ancient city of Machu Picchu. The air is actually quite thin up here, so in between composing a sentence, I'm gasping for breath.
5,000 people, 5 times as many visitors as lived here. That's why UNESCO is very strict on how this place is maintained. Because, otherwise, all that foot pounding every day. They have a full crew working on it every single day, like 100 people to maintain it. And that's why they cut off the hitching post of the sun of the Intihuatana at 10 in the morning, to restrict the number of people going through. The site's very sensitive.
I'll tell you what, it's pretty exciting walking down into this ancient place, treading where for thousands of years people have walked.
This would take hundreds, if not thousands of years to build, because it's, you see the scale of it. The cathedral in Cusco took 100 years to build. That's one building. This is like a huge complex.
So you're talking about thousands of years. When do you think it was really built, Brian? When do you think it was really built?
Well, we have the thing called the Younger Dryas, which occurred between 12,800 and 11,600 years ago. That was a series of global cataclysms that happened. So it wasn't like one event. It was 1,200 years of disturbances of different parts of the planet, including solar plasma ejection from the sun, earthquakes, rising of sea level. According to Dr. Robert Schoch, the geologist, the sea level rose 100 feet in 2 weeks, and then totally of about 400 feet. So I think that all the megalithic stuff here and in Egypt and in other places, at least 13,000 years old.
Which of course predates known human civilization.
Right. Well, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey is the interesting one, and that they've now carbon dated at about 11,500. But that's twice the age of standard archaeology that says civilization began 6,000 years ago. So that place proves, and it wasn't done, but and you go to the museum there, it's just bullshit. It's made by hunter-gatherers. You had to have engineers to design it and stuff. So obviously it had a huge crew, and they had also agriculture too, twice as old as what standard history tells us. Roofs were made, and then wooden wedges were put in, hammered in, and then hot water was poured. And then over the course of time, the wood expands, cracks the stone, but it's a very uneven surface. This was not done by the Inca, this was done by Russians in the 1990s. But it is theoretically how it was done.
But you say theoretically,
Yeah.
you're skeptical.
Always.
Because when you see the accuracy of how much that megalithic stone's cut to.
Oh, the megalithic was done using very advanced technology, beyond our capability, just like in Egypt. And I'm completely open to the concept of alien construction.
Wow, really?
Especially in Egypt, because everything in Egypt is linear and logical. I would think that would be an alien mindset. And here, they talk about ancient advanced civilizations, but there's no actual solid evidence for that. So I think they came, they built, the cataclysms began, they took the tools and they buggered off back to Sirius or wherever they came from. I won't name names, but they say it had to have been an advanced human civilization. Based on what? What solid evidence do you have?
What's the official explanation for Machu Picchu? What do they say to explain
Inca did it.
But the Incas didn't do it.
I know.
And even the Incas, I mean, our friend Wilco admits he didn't do it.
Yeah, even the Inca said that. When the Spanish arrived and they saw Sacsayhuaman, the Spanish said, "Did you build that?" And they said, No. That was here when we got here. So that proves it. Same with Aliante Tambo, same with here. This is the obvious evidence I'm going to show you right now. So you look at the wall right in front of us. That's obviously Inca.
Why do you say it's obviously Inca, Brian?
Well, because it's I don't want to be nasty to the Inca, but it's relatively crude. You see there's a lot of clay mortar in between the stones. Smaller. And then you see that protrusion on top on the right? That's a piece that was put into place. But then when we go beyond that, then day or night becomes day.
So night becomes day. Now we get to see the real stuff.
So this is the megalithic here.
Wow, the difference is amazing.
Yeah. So you see there's a protrusion, but that's part of the stone. There it was put in.
I mean, how did they cut stone that accurately?
Well, it's very, very advanced technology. It's beyond our capability. This is beyond our capability right here.
I mean, to cut that today as humans, we'd need diamond-tipped saws.
Oh yeah, yes. Also, another major series of events that happened is there were massive earthquakes that happened before the time of the Inca that pulled all of the east and west walls apart. So that's why you see the gap. It's quite even between those three stones. The north and south walls didn't move, but east and west they did. Here at Lake Titicaca, in Cusco, at Aliante Tambo, at Sacsayhuaman. So if that had happened during Inca times, the Inca would have recorded it, but there's no record of it happening. So this would have been probably just after the construction by the megalithic builders. And then you see these giant stones, and then you see the little ones on top. That's Inca repair. And we'll see that when we're going to go around the back way inside this complex, and you'll see that on this back wall as well. The Inca found the megalithic lower section and then fixed it on top.
Are there any glyphs, Brian? Any rock art? Or?
No. No, it's like in Egypt. There's almost no symbolism. We'll see when we walk through Cusco. There are some characters carved into the stone. You see a snake, a puma, and a condor.
So viewers of NewsNation, this is my Aussie mate Clark. What do you reckon, Clark?
Breathtaking, incredible. You come here for this, let alone that.
Plants. Beautiful plants, trees, colourful palm trees almost.
I've never seen anything like this.
One of my colleagues was just saying he wished he had a time machine so he could go back in time and see what this place really was, what it was used for. It really is just a mystery. But you can see the incredible difference between the megalithic stone, the pre-Inca civilization stone, and the Inca work. Have a look at this. So how heavy would that block be there, Brian, the big one? How heavy would that big block be there?
That's at least 40 to 50 tons. The biggest ones that we're going to see at Aliante Tambo, I went there twice with David Hatcher Childers, if you've ever heard of him. And we went there and David looked at the big wall and he said, "This stone is at least 300 tons. And I said, "David, how do you know that?" "Oh, I don't know." "Well, let's measure it." So we did. So granite is 175 pounds per cubic foot. So we measured it this way, that way, depth, about 68. Still big. And as I'm going to show you when we get there tomorrow where the quarry is. The quarry is the very top of the mountain on the other side of the valley. There's only one small area where you have high quality granite like that. So they had to move it, and there's a trail that goes 2/3 of the way to the quarry, not all the way. It goes from 20 feet wide to 2 feet wide to disappearing. So somehow that stone had to be moved down, all the way down the valley floor, across the river, and then back up the mountain again.
Okay, but explain that to me. How do you move, thousands of years ago, a lump of rock like that?
40 to 50 tons. There's also the issue of the fact that some of the rock may not necessarily come from the quarry above, but from down below, because the patterning is different. And Brian might.
Well, the quality of the work,
Yeah.
or quality of the material.
You're in the darkness.
Maybe I like it.
Okay, so after you've done your filming and photographs here, then we'll go to the Temple of the Three Windows, which is there. And then we're leaving. Okay, and then we're going to leave the site, because otherwise it would take like an hour and a half to go around the backside. This is the most interesting part by far. The rest of it gets very repetitive when you look at Inca stonework.
Do we know what this was used for, Brian?
No clue. The other weird thing about it is that it only ever had 3 sides. It wasn't a 4-sided building.
So were people living here, do you think? Or was it more possibly a temple of some kind?
Yeah, I think it had a function. Temple maybe, but temple is used too much. Like the temple of the moon, the temple of the sun, everything's either a temple of the moon or temple of the sun. There had to be other functions to it. But we're going to see that this, what's called the Temple of the Three Windows, was at one point solid, like 4 walls, But again, a cataclysm hit it, earthquake of massive scale, and basically blew part of it down onto the ground. That's why you see there should be cross beams above going from one side to the other, but they're missing.
Are there any theories on the lumps in the rocks at the bottom?
That's the 50-ton block. So JP, what's your takeaway from this?
There's a problem, many problems of course, that haven't been resolved, but one of them is how did they move blocks such as this that are 40 to 50 tons in size? And the kind of official story is that it came from a quarry up above, but the problem there is that the blocks are different. There are different qualities to the patterns of the stone and the way they've been worked, which suggests that there were megalithic blocks brought from below. And of course we're some 2,400 meters or so in altitude here. And how are these primitive societies able to do that?
Well, I don't think they did they?
I don't think so either.
And then if you look at this wall, there is something interesting about that, isn't there?
It is. There's scooping. There's a signature similar to the blocks that we saw in Egypt, including the unfinished obelisk of Aswan. But I think there's going to be better examples in Cusco, and we'll be able to get into that when we get down.
It's
to the
so
town.
frustrating because we really don't know what this was used for.
We don't. But there's the issue of the misnomer of calling Machu Picchu a lost city, because it's not really a city. It's a location that is quite compact. We don't even know that there were roofs put in place with the pre-Inca structures. The Inca used roofs, but it may be that this was more of a ceremonial site. And what's really sad is the Inti stone at the top used to be open for everyone to access. Recently, access was limited to 10 a.m.
What's that called, sorry?
The Inti Putana stone. Ooh, eludes me for the moment.
Sure.
And you can't go up and see it. And this stone is incredible. First of all, it's huge. It's been smoothed, it's been carved. It looks like something out of megalithic India. It's aligned with the Huaca Pucllana mountain opposite. It's aligned with the cardinal points. And again, we can look at this through a pragmatic scope. But this is all part of what I think to be a spiritual or even religious type technology that's inducing experiences for the priests or for the initiates.
I know it's a conceit to assert that Hiram Bingham discovered this place, but I have to say, it must have been pretty swell to be the explorer chopping your way through the Andean jungle.
That's right, and
You stumble across this ancient place.
there's a lesson in that, because he wasn't looking for Machu Picchu, he was looking for another lost city. And he came here in 1903. He was sponsored by Kodak, the famous photograph company, and it was state-of-the-art panoramic technology that weighed a ton, and there were obviously local guys that were having to lift it up.
Sure.
But it was a great find, and it was of course thanks to the native locals that he found it. But credit to Hiram Bingham. He is the modern discoverer of Machu Picchu.
That's pretty special.
Very.
It's amazing, even more amazing to me, that we still have no idea who built it or what it was for.
And doesn't everything have a different light to it when we think of the potential reality and discovery of the tridactyl bodies?
Yeah, absolutely. Was it aliens? I know, some will giggle, some will scoff.
Or beings
I don't care if you scoff. I mean, it's a serious proposition. It's one that's ventured by Brian Forster here, and it's one that's been ventured even by some of the Incas that I've spoken to.
And what if they were indigenous to the Earth and we just don't know about them?
Yeah.
Maybe they're not from other places.
Maybe somewhere out there, there are tridactyls.
Like this side got destroyed probably by an earthquake. So as I said, you see that notch there, there would have been a stone beam coming across, fitting halfway there and then going through that way. So that was destroyed. And Hiram Bingham, as I said, he named everything. He was not an archaeologist, he was a map maker. So how the hell he thought he knew what he was talking about? Just like he called that the caretaker's hut. It's like, what? The importance of that building is that the two major roads that come to Machu Picchu are, as I said, over there, which is the Inti Punku, the Sun Gate, and then around the backside that way. So that would be the point where anybody who came from either of those two directions would be detected. And then the guard would say, "What are you doing here?" I was just curious about what's... No, bye.
So this is so-called the Temple of the Three Windows.
Yeah. And it's interesting that certain of them are blocked, others are not. And my suspicion is that this is for, again, it has an energetic purpose.
Something tells me, JP, that Hiram Bingham, way back in the 19th century, had the better view. I get the feeling that thousands of people, there's apparently 6,000 people a day who come here to Machu Picchu, and you can understand why. But
it doesn't help the fact that they've cordoned off so many areas now that everyone is in a concentrated space, whereas the last time I came here, you could climb up to the top of the sunstone at the top here. You could access Huaca Picchu in the background and climb up without any ticketing or permission needed, and it was just a more comfortable experience. And I just feel that the site is being more and more controlled, and it gives scope for sort of more inequitable decisions and limits the experience of the visitor, especially to those of us that have been in a different time when there was more liberty.
so here we are. We're on our way out of Machu Picchu through the old Inca ruins. And it's quite funny, you go from those beautifully cut megalithic blocks, and you've got the Inca blocks out there in front of it. And so, of course, you can't come to Peru without seeing a llama, and they're all over here at Machu Picchu. Just the scale of this place is mind-blowing. You can see why the Incans valued it as a natural fortress position, but whoever built the megalithic ruins here obviously recognized it as well. You could hide here, and nobody would know you were here. And funnily enough, the Spanish had no idea, absolutely no idea the Incans had hid out here. Well, the takeaway I have most of all from Machu Picchu is just how little we know about its origins. Just like Egypt, I mean, there are these gigantic blocks of stone, 50, 100, 150 tons, that have been pulled up these magnificent hills by someone. Thousands, possibly tens of thousands of years ago. And we have absolutely no explanation for how these buildings were built, what they were built for. And the official explanation, of course, is that they were built by the Incans, and yet even many of the Incans say that's an extremely implausible explanation. Well, all I can say, it's a privilege to be here, and what an exciting day. Machu Picchu, what a splendid place. So this is Aliante Tambo, which is one of the great sites from the Incan history, but of course, like just about everything else in Peru, it's built on top of megalithic ruins, the provenance of which nobody has any idea when they were built, what they were built for. And much of this is Inca apparently, but way up the top there, we're going to go and have a look at some rocks right at the top of the hill, which are perfectly bonded. and inexplicably gigantically large blocks of andesite granite, which have been cut very, very precisely to the extent that you can't even insert a playing card between the faces of the granite. I mean, it's an architectural mystery sitting in plain sight. A little bit hypoxic coming up the hill there. There's so little oxygen up here. We're nearly 3 kilometres above sea level, and you're just a little bit lightheaded today. So one of the joys about being in Peru is you chew on a coca leaf or some of the coca sweets that they provide that have tiny amounts of, believe it or not, cocaine in them, and they do help. So as best as Brian Foster, our guide, is able to tell us, this is Inca, because they worked with the local rock. But their predecessors, whoever they were, the megalith builders, they built those beautiful rocks up the top there that when we get closer, there's absolutely no seams between them. Each rock was prefabricated and shaped to fit with the other rock. And when you consider that they're cutting into andesite granite and moving those blocks, some of which are 50, 100, 150 tons, how on earth did they do it? But at the same time, the Incas were pretty clever too, because what we're standing on here, these terraces, were part of a sophisticated planting and irrigation system. They'd apparently divert a river way up at 18,000 feet, and then they'd trickle the water down from the top terrace, and it would slowly percolate down all the terraces, down the hill, and then out to sea. So the Incas were pretty clever too. In this block of granite right here, there's a drill hole. And it's the only one that Brian's ever found, but it's a megalithic drill hole, which proves pretty conclusively that whoever these builders were, they had tools that were strong enough to cut through andesite granite, one of the hardest rocks on this planet. I mean, in order to do that these days, we need a diamond saw. That's how significant this is. It's just like what we saw in Egypt. And there's just no explanation for how whoever the megalithic builders were, how they put a hole through a lump of granite. Or indeed, how they lifted that lump of granite from the quarry over the river to this point. I mean, it's just crazy. Some of these rocks have got 8 sides, and here is where the mystery begins. How did anyone, I don't know how anybody could do this today, how did anyone cut this type of granite, which is incredibly hard, with sides, some of them are 8-sided, and then slot them in like a Lego set with such accuracy? And if you believe what our guides are telling us, they believe these megalithic ruins are possibly up to 25,000 years old. This rock is mind-blowing. If you count the sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sides, it's slotted in so perfectly. There's no gap at all between the other rocks. Whoever did this, presumably tens of thousands of years ago, really knew what they were doing. So JP, I have overtones of Egypt here, a mystery in plain sight, no explanation for how it was built. The more I go to places like Peru and Egypt, the more I realise how little we humans know.
That's right, there's similarities. They may not be the same people or artificers that built the structures in Egypt and Peru, but they are very curious. We saw them, Ross, in the Assyrian, the private access area at the Abydos Temple in Egypt. We saw them, I believe, around the Menkaure Pyramid temple complex, and there's an example or two around the base of the Sphinx.
But they don't really know what these nubs were for, do they?
They don't. It's interesting. Some say they were injection molded kind of relics, which would have assumed that the stone would have been molten or soft at some point, like a concrete. But my suspicion is, like much of Egypt, and as Brian mentioned about the more modern kind of cathedrals that are built across Europe, that project is that we're looking at disruptors or interrupters of sound, the use of frequency to achieve some kind of effect, possibly to help grow the crops on these amazing huge terraces that we see around us. Maybe it would have promoted the growth of crops in a way that meant that they could produce more food. we don't know, but sound and resonance seem to me to be a massive part of this.
Well, I
complex
guess
structure.
when the Incans came, thousands of years later, it made sense to build on these ruins.
That's right. Why break what is, already working for you and just adapt to it, build around it, and you can see the difference in the stonework.
I mean, there's something crazy about the fact that the megalithic 13,000 plus years old ruins are vastly superior to what you see over here with the Inca.
That's right. This is another level. I think that this may also be this part of the site at Aliante Tambo has a sacred function, and we'll see that a little bit later when we get to the top. But yes, for me, this is the epicenter of the mystery of this incredible place.
You can just get a piece of paper in between the two blocks.
But the question is, does money come out?
That's quite something.
It's amazing. That was pretty powerful.
That's amazing.
The resonance.
Amazing. That's quite something.
That surprised me, actually.
Yeah. It actually resonates. He's right. It resonates. It's just like the one we went to in Egypt. It's the same thing. So two separate civilizations discovered the ability to use stone to tune into frequencies in different parts of the world. I love it. Okay, JP, come on in. It's just like the Saqqara temple in Egypt that we visited a year ago, isn't it, JP?
It's very similar in that there's a space for to put your head in and experience some sort of resonance. But in Egypt, you can actually hear the tones.
You could feel the energy. Yeah.
We're talking about the so-called Sound Temple outside of Saqqara, right next to the Step Pyramid of Djoser, as it's so called, probably a misnomer.
It's lovely watching. It's lovely watching everybody's reaction.
You've set a trend, Ross.
I mean, it gives you quite a buzz tapping into this because it feels quite mystical doing it.
Yeah.
What is it about the surface of those stones, the granite stones, that you found especially interesting?
Well, the way the granite decomposes is it crumbles like a sugar cube does, because it's a three-dimensional matrix, whereas limestone and sandstone are deposited in layers, so the top layer can peel off. So it's not supposed to do that, and that's evidence that massive heat, like a blast of heat, struck some of the walls here and caused the surface to destabilize and peel off.
So there's some kind of ablation, heat ablation that's been caused.
Yeah. We'll
Wow.
see even more of it around the corner when we get there.
And then, before we get there, these gigantic lumps of granite. Do we know how heavy they are?
We measured them. The heaviest one is on the right-hand side. It's about 68 tons. People love to boast and say, well, these are 400 tons. It's like you have to measure. It's 175 pounds per cubic foot. So you do the width, the height, and the depth, multiply it by 175, and you wind up with poundage, reduce that to tonnage.
Okay, but even if it's 68 tons, how the hell does anyone in a civilization 10, 20,000 years ago move an object that large up this hill?
Exactly, and the quarry is the top of that mountain across the valley.
You're kidding me. You are kidding me.
Only that little area where the peak is, that's
Have a look.
the only high quality
Have a look at that.
granite is located.
Between the two, the sort of dip.
No, the actual peak on the right.
Are we meant to believe that it was Incans lugging these on their backs, or I mean?
Well, actually, when you weren't here, I did tell a story that one of the High Inca wanted to replicate what they found here. So he had something like 1,000 men go up to the quarry. There's still some giant blocks which have been roughed out that are up there, and so he had them wrap ropes around it. The trail, which is there, that goes to the quarry, only goes 2/3 of the way and then disappears.
So there are still blocks that were left on the way by the Incans because they couldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. So he told them, bring that block down through the trail to this location. They moved it down, then they got close to the edge, then the stone went too far over, the balance point was lost, and it came down, crashed in the valley floor, pulling probably hundreds of Inca men with it.
Oh, what a tragedy.
So at that point he said, okay, let's forget about that.
So we know that that mountain right up there is the only source of this granite.
Yeah.
And nobody can explain where that granite, how it was carried from there to here.
I mean, this is all granite, but that's low grade crumbling granite, but that's really high quality where that peak is. And I don't, you can get up to the lower part of the quarry, but you need a helicopter to get to the very top.
Yeah. No, it's mind-blowing.
Or anti-gravity.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Oh my God, look at that. Perfectly level.
On top of a hill.
That's amazing. Perfectly level. So Taryn, one of our friends here, pointed out to me something about this lump of granite, that if you feel underneath, you can see the curvature here. There's actually been a drill hole that's actually a T-shape, and if you put the camera underneath, you'll see it. It's almost like the ancient machining to make sure that this rock was designed to lock in with some kind of T-shape with another. This isn't just megalithic production, it's ancient engineering, isn't it?
Yeah, it's too precise, too difficult to do by hand. And in fact, Ross, there's a block, a smaller block that we've just walked past, and we can maybe walk.
Sure, let's have a look.
Now. So, as we were walking into this sort of core area of the complex, a relatively smaller megalithic block. It's reminiscent of a massive rose granite block that we saw at the back of the Egyptian Museum in Cairo on a smaller scale.
Oh, I can see what you're pointing out.
I mean, this is diorite, but you can see this kind of surface is, well, there is some wearing of some kind.
But something's cut through that.
There's a clear.
It's like what we saw in the Egyptian Museum.
Yeah.
Whoever cut this lump of granite had a saw.
Exactly. It's so similar, it's just on a smaller scale.
But I'm sorry, we didn't have saws 13,000 years ago. In fact, human civilization didn't exist 13,000 years ago, JP. Sorry.
I don't see how chisels or adzes can even begin.
No, you can't do that with an adze.
Possible.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Mysteries in plain sight. So we saw the T shape cut into the other piece of granite earlier. Have a look at this. Now Brian suggests that these might have been connected with bits of copper, and this is something that was seen in Egypt. They put copper in between the lumps of granite, something that a technology we still don't understand today, that helped conduct the energy between the granite. It all suggests that what this is, what they call a temple of the sun, might indeed have been some kind of energy device. I mean, frankly, we have no idea. That's the curious thing about this, because the Incan civilization was built on top of this. And clearly there's been some kind of cataclysm that has thrown these huge lumps of granite around on the ground. And as we could see earlier, there was the heat ablation on the rocks. It really is quite profound, though, to see another one of these T's. Think about this. We know that the only source of the kind of granite that's used in this site came from that peak right up there, which is probably another 1,000 meters up in the sky. We're already at 3 kilometers. But have a look at the size of these blocks. Imagine lugging those down that hill, across that valley, and logging them into position here with such accuracy, and then cutting them with such precision.
They've been shaped but not set.
Yeah. I mean, there's no mortar, there's no use of mortar at all.
Exactly. They've been partly lifted and then left in place, cracked and then discarded. We could see blocks behind this.
And clearly these nubs, I mean, we saw these nubs in Egypt too.
Yeah.
They serve a purpose, we just don't know what it was.
These ones are much smaller than the ones we saw along the entrance wall, which Brian says is probably the best example of these megalithic blocks across Peru. I just think that they're possibly symbolic, but they appear to me more about being attuning frequency, and the project was abandoned. But we can even see some shaping here.
Yeah, it's like it was stopped mid-process.
Abandoned. After all the effort of extracting from a quarry on a peak of a mountain that would need to be accessed by a helicopter today.
Let's infuriate the debunkers, mate. Let's say a big alien spaceship came down and zapped the whole place with a laser beam.
Right.
Just as plausible as anything else, frankly. Where hopefully we'll be able to see some of the tridactyl carvings into the desert floor that are only visible from an aircraft. But while we're travelling through the desert, it's worth noting that the tridactyl beings themselves, whatever they are, were recovered from somewhere in this area, somewhere in this quite desolate desert. It really does beg belief how the grave robbers, the yaqueros, found them somewhere in these hills. But whatever the objects are, let's call them objects for the moment, it's quite baffling to think how for 1800 years they lay hidden in a hillside, only to be discovered by a bunch of grave robbers. It's pretty desolate out there. We're just about to get on the plane to the Nazca Lines, the rock carvings into the desert floor that illustrate all manner of things. I don't know, when were they first carved, Georgio? Do you know? When were they put into the rock? Do we know when they were made, these?
Oh, about in the year 100 more or less.
So over nearly 2,000 years old.
Which coincides with the tridactyl.
Okay. So we're very excited to be able to see today the rock carvings, the carvings into the desert floor, the so-called Nazca carvings. And it's interesting because JP's just pointed something out to me that I think is fascinating, a bit of UFO inside knowledge. Fire away, JP.
Well, I've already flown over the Nazca Lines over a decade ago, and when you look at certain shows that shan't be named,
Yeah.
they mention these trapezoids being potential runways, which I never really accepted. And it's only now, looking at this map, before we board an aircraft, to see these incredible geoglyphs that have been weathered for nearly up to 2,000 years. And I look at these two, and suddenly I thought of a UFO incident, or what purports to be a UFO incident in medieval Germany in Nuremberg in 1561.
Shows the comparison.
And I brought the image up, and this is what it was. You can see the similarities between both of these trapezoids and how they relate to the incident of Nuremberg in medieval Germany. And if you also have a look, you've got this rather unusual sort of astronaut character that has been drawn on the, or etched into the side of a hill, and it's just adjacent to these trapezoids.
But of course, nothing to do with UFOs at all. Not suggesting UFOs. Nobody said anything about UFOs, but just an interesting symmetry.
Another coincidence.
Okay, Christian, we're here in the Nazca airport, and I find it fascinating. You're a pilot.
Yes, I'm a pilot. I was a pilot here in the Nazca circuit too many years ago, maybe more than 15 years ago.
And you've written this book,
Yeah.
The Gatekeepers of Nazca, by Christian Yong.
Sure.
So tell me, why did you write this book? What prompted you to write that book, Christian?
Because I had too many experience with the energy here. Too many people don't know there is a special energy here. I try to find what kind of energy or what kind of relationship there is between this energy and the Nazca, and the figures and the geoglyphs and the desert.
And what's your theory?
No, definitely we have a very, very strong energy here. Positive energy and negative energy as well.
Right. And do you think that's why there are so many sightings in this area?
Yeah, I had too many sightings here at night, in the day as well.
So when you say you've had them, what do you see?
You know, for example, small spheres, white spheres, so many brilliant, with a like a kind of light in the sky, but I'm sure there weren't planes, there weren't drones, because I'm a pilot and I know very well. I know the difference between this kind of aircraft.
And did you ever see anything that resembled a structured craft or just lights?
No, I think they are simple light, but huge lights. Huge lights.
How huge?
Maybe like 10 meters of height and 10 meters of wide.
Wow.
Yeah.
And self-illuminated. There's
Yes, I think, for example, the last time I saw one of them over a mountain close to here in Vistal area is the district.
And are you still flying?
I'm still flying in Canada.
In Canada?
In Canada.
So you've just come back here for a holiday, or?
No, I used to go here once a year.
Ah, okay, right.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel there was a threat to your safety of your aircraft, or was it just something you observed at a distance but felt okay about?
No, yes. So for example, the last time when I had the experience to have a sighting, I was flying in Palpa, and I had a sighting with a very small sphere over a valley, and even I remember I was with French visitors, and they were asking me what kind of light is this. I didn't know to explain, but I knew it was a sphere.
Do you pilots talk about it? There's a bit of a stigma, isn't there, with the whole subject of UFOs? Do you get worried about talking about the fact that you've seen a UFO because you're worried about losing your license?
Yeah, no, exactly.
But why do so many pilots not talk about their sightings? Because I
Well,
very rarely find a pilot.
I think there's a very special connection between some pilots with this energy. Not every pilot used to have this
So
experience.
it's more accepted here in Nazca because of its special energy, because of the small community of pilots.
Yeah.
So it's easier to talk about it.
Yeah, I know other pilots that had the same experience, but not everybody.
I see.
Not every pilot.
So what's your theory? What are they?
What? Sorry.
What do you think they are? You described them as lights.
They are dimensional beings. I'm sure about this. They are dimensional beings. They have a mission here, and I think they are like guardians, gatekeepers, and that's why I choose the title, the Gatekeepers of Nazca. Yeah.
And so the lines themselves, the drawings in the Nazca Desert, what do you think they illustrate?
They are a kind of expression in this desert. Maybe, for example, the monkey is a kind of figure. We don't have monkeys in this area, for example, just maybe only in the jungle, but not here. Here we have another kind of animals. Fox, for example, is one of them. But I think they are like expressions for us and for...
You know about the tridactyls that have been found?
Oh yeah, I know about
What's
that.
your take on those? I mean, there's
Yeah.
obviously a tridactyl that's depicted in the rock art here.
Yeah, definitely they are dimensional beings. I'm sure about this.
And you think they once lived here? They
Yeah,
came here?
Sure, but no in this dimension, because we are in another kind of dimension. They came from other dimension and they appeared here, and maybe they were lost. That's what I think.
Because it's quite sad. We were looking yesterday in Ica at the remains of a reptilian-looking creature, and Maria, who's a slightly humanoid-looking creature. And I'm no expert, and obviously it'll take science to figure out what they really are and whether they are indeed something non-human. But it does suggest the possibility that these are non-human beings from somewhere else.
Yeah, well, I know Maria knew something about this, but I think she was so careful about this because
So who was this, sorry?
she.
Oh, you're talking about Maria Wright.
Maria
We're
Wright.
talking about a tridactyl body or purported body or specimen that's
Yeah.
at the University of Ica being studied because it's
And
so
they've-
unusual.
And they've called
Oh.
it Maria.
Oh, okay.
I
okay,
understand
so-
what's
yeah,
happened
yeah.
here. You're referring to Maria Wright, but tell us about Maria Wright. What did she know?
Well, no, I think she knew something about this
Why do you say that?
because she lived in the desert and I'm sure she saw many strange things in the desert.
And Maria Reich was the German archaeologist that
Yes.
lived here for something like 50 years.
50 years,
And lived
exactly.
next to the Nazca Lines to discover them and protect them.
Yeah, exactly. Even she passed all her life here in Nazca.
So where have you seen most of your UFOs? Here or in Canada?
No, more here in this, even in this area, in Lima as well, in Ica as well. In Canada, I saw one of them because I was living in a farm area in Canada. My first days.
West Coast or East Coast?
No, it's East Coast.
East Coast.
East Coast. Yes.
Nova Scotia?
No, it's in Ontario. It's for the east, by the West Coast.
West Coast,
West
of
Coast,
Vancouver,
yes.
British Columbia.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's the east. This is the east. The East Coast, Ontario. Yes.
Okay.
Ontario. Yes.
And so you've seen more here when you were flying here than you have anywhere else?
Yeah. No. Well, I have too many stories about all this. For example, I had experience with sightings about strange beings in Palpa. Even I was researching about this strange being. It was like a bull, but with six legs. And I was checking all the information about what kind of being is it. And I found out a similar bull in Japan.
And so why did you set out to write the book? What was the motivation?
Yeah, because I write the stories all the life. Even my first novel was when I was in the high school, but I didn't publish it. I didn't post it, never.
But your theory is basically you wrote the book to push this idea that these are interdimensional beings, the gatekeepers.
This is my first book about this.
Yeah.
Can I ask you,
Because-
Christian, are you a contactee? Have you had any contact?
A kind of
You
contact,
have?
yes, once.
Can you tell us about that?
Once. Well, one night I was smoking in my room, well, in the window, and I was checking one of these spheres, close to Cerro Blanco.
The white hill,
Yes,
Cerro Blanco.
Cerro Blanco.
Very important.
Yes. And I saw a very, very brilliant sphere. And I was smoking, and in seconds I got slipped. But I was stand up. And I feel I was stand up.
So you knew you were not in a normal state.
Yes. Well, all the communication was by telepathy. And they say, we are treating you now because you have a disease, you have a sickness now in the heart.
And did you?
No. After that, I saw my doctor. He said I don't have anything, but according to them, I had a sickness.
So that you believe they cured you?
Yes.
Did they say what it was?
Well, they said so, and I got something like a special energy to incite me, but I was sleeping.
Yeah.
But maybe in minutes, I woke up and I saw my cigarette consumed, all the cigarette.
Gosh.
But I was standing up.
You were sleeping and you were standing up.
Yes.
They
Exactly.
paralyzed you or something, I guess.
Yes,
In
something
a
like this. But
hypnotic trance? Or hypnosis? Uh-huh.
a kind of hypnosis.
Right.
So here we go. We're on our way to the Nazca Lines. It's a very, very hot day here in Nazca, and we're about to get on board our little light plane with two pilots because we're doing the extended tour to Pulpa, where you can see the tridactyl images. Very exciting. really does beg the question, how were those lines constructed hundreds, thousands of years ago? And why? Why would any civilization build beautiful art like that, which could only be seen from the air? Like just about everything else here in Peru, it's an intriguing mystery, an exciting one. And I'm looking forward to the rest of our journey, because what we're seeing here is evidence of quite an advanced civilization, most of which we know very little about. One of the great excitements on this trip was to see the tridactyl images. Clearly, there was something in the cultural memory of this area that meant that the locals wanted to record an image of a tridactyl. The big question is why? Well, that was a very exciting trip. I guess the one takeaway for me, most of all, is why would any earthbound civilization, which presumably didn't have the ability to fly, want to build lines that could only be seen from the air? Why? Why did they record tridactyl images? Was that just a weird artifice or artistic giggle, or was it something more significant? We're on our way to a place called Naupa Huaca, which sadly is way up there. One hell of a climb. About 3,000 meters above sea level here, and you can feel the lack of oxygen. You can barely talk. So the real purpose of this place is lost in history. It's, according to Brian Foster, it's pre-Inca. In fact, he believes it dates back to the time of the Younger Dryas, which is 12,500 years ago, well before any human civilization was known to exist on the planet. And if you look at this astonishing art rockwork here, it's cutting into the granite in ways that defies explanation. You would have needed diamond-tipped saws to cut that kind of incredibly dense granite. And nobody really has any explanation for how it was cut the way it is, such precise 90-degree angles. And also nobody has any idea what it was for, but the speculation is it's some kind of portal. We'll talk to JP later because he says he can feel energy, pulses, pulsing, and his explanation is as good as any, frankly. Just like so many of these beautiful megalithic ruins in Peru, they're an eternal mystery.
Stand up.
I'll stand up.
Yeah.
Face the other way.
Mano acá. No, sí. Your hands. There you go.
Masculino, femenino.
Masculine, feminine.
Necesitamos una dualidad.
We always need a duality.
El receptor o la antena es la punta de las yemas.
The receptor antenna are gems or fingers.
Entonces la cruz del sur exactamente va a estar posicionado en la cima
See, the Southern Cross is positioned right above us.
y va a entrar una luz
Our light will cross it.
y a través de la otra mano va a entrar a ella, igualmente de
Connection will go to Sharon. Yeah.
por la chakra de la corona.
Come and get to Corona Chakra. Pachamama will transform the energy
Igualmente va a regresar
and will come back
y va a regresar a la parte
and will
de la
reflect
cruz.
back to the cosmos.
Esa es quizás una de las formas
It seems that that's one of the ways
de poder recibir la llave
we need what is useful from the past.
y de repente abrir el camino del futuro, nada
And
más.
just open the way, the path to the future.
Con estas dos conciencias tenemos que vivir el presente.
So those two concepts or consciousness we have to live in present.
Eso significa este lugar, el presente.
That is the main significance of this place.
I don't know if it's lack of oxygen, but I am certainly feeling an energy that I don't normally feel when I'm walking around a megalithic ruin. There really is a pulse and energy to this place. It's quite extraordinary. And it's also quite beautiful. It's a loving feeling. So they call this place Naupa Huaca, which in Spanish, I think the Spanish also called it Naupa Iglesias. And essentially it's a reference, of course, to the church because it has the shape of a church. But I can tell you, whatever this place is, whatever the energy behind it, it's real. What I was feeling during that ceremony just before was utterly overwhelming. I felt a kind of they call it a kundalini, an energy that comes from your groin up to the top of your head. I felt a huge energy of rush through me, a joyous sense of energy. And a lot of people here, without breaching their confidence, have had quite emotional moments, bringing to fore memories of dead family members. And I don't think it's for nothing that this place is thought of as a healing place. It's quite profound. I know it sounds mystical and you can be as skeptical as you like, but there really is something quite profound about this place. It's beautiful. It's very loving, kind, welcoming. I don't think I'll ever forget that feeling that I just had now. The terrible tragedy, we don't really know what this place is or was. Apparently, the Spanish, when they came, whatever this beautiful object was, they blew it up because they thought there might be treasure underneath it. But talking to Wilco, the local Inca guide, he told me that the work here was done probably, they think, 25,000 years ago, which of course is long before the Younger Dryas, long before the end of the last ice age, and long before known human civilization, which of course only came about 5,000-6,000 years ago. And if you look over here, I mean, that's andesite granite. It's one of the toughest stones known to humankind. Something tens of thousands of years ago cut into that stone with 90-degree accuracy. It's quite astonishing. I'm going to bring in my my mystical mate JP Hague, who I know has a bit of a feeling for the unseen. What did you feel, JP?
Well, Ross, I came in without expectations, and what can I say? Intuitively, I was invited to touch the rock. I put my two palms where you see the two little ledges there, and I just faced the mountain. And somebody that does meditation will be kind of more open to this perhaps, but I started to feel a rhythmical throbbing in my head that was so strong. It was incredibly powerful. And then I started to, my vision, my inner vision, if you will, started to enter a tunnel which, you know, you might associate with psychedelics. And it was like my awareness was starting to travel down this tunnel. But then I stopped it because I think it would have taken too long. I didn't really want to go somewhere else. I was very happy here.
But the guide was telling us, Wilco, the guide was telling us that it's thought of as a portal.
And I can see why, because the experience I had was almost like the beginning of an experience that absolutely was entering, I don't know, another dimensional space. And it's an experiential thing. It's not an imagined or intellectual idea. It's an experience that begins.
But if those spiritual ideas are just too much for you, think on this. Even the local Incas acknowledge that this was here before their civilization. In fact, the guide was telling us 25,000 years old is the date that the local Incas give to this sacred place. What humans were around 25,000 years ago? I mean, who built this?
It's pre-Inca civilization, to my mind, and to the minds of many others that come here far more frequently than I do. What's just interesting is how the story of the Spanish, seeking treasure inside is one explanation, but it could be that they were, intentionally destroying sacred technology or indigenous technology for altered states of consciousness that ultimately lead to our betterment, to doing better in the world, and to become more connected and more loving as a society, as a species, as a race.
But on more practical engineering terms, how did any civilization beyond, I think the first time we actually had something other than rocks to shape rock with, especially rock as hard as andesite granite, was around about 5,000 years ago, when bronze adzes first started appearing. But bronze is too soft to cut into andesite granite. We learned that last year in Egypt.
Absolutely.
In fact, I'm seeing a whole lot of parallels here.
Of course, look at the 90-degree angles of these spaces. They are perfect. You could put a right-angled set square in there and there would be no space whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, you could be in the Serapeum here. It's amazing.
And I wonder where the tunnel system, if this is a tunnel system, is it? Is it a cave? Where does it lead?
But it's quite precious. I mean, I feel quite privileged to be here.
Yeah.
I mean, every now and then in this line of work, you come across something that really does take the wind out of you and inspires you with awe. This humble place inspires me with awe. Okay, so I thought it was hard walking up. Believe me, going down is even worse. These steps, there was somebody telling us that some of the locals were a bit upset that the gringos were coming to their sacred site, and so they started sabotaging the path. And before I came here, I thought, how could they possibly sabotage a staircase? Now I know what they mean. You only have to move a couple of these rocks and you wouldn't be able to get up. That has been quite an introduction. Our first day in Cusco. Maybe it's the lack of oxygen. Maybe it's the altitude. But I just have a hunch something magical happened for a lot of us up in that beautiful place. What are we looking at?
We are looking at the end of the Chilca beach, which is called Las Salinas.
And this is a huge hotspot for UFOs in Peru.
Yes, all of this area is a huge hotspot. UFOs did land here in the 80s, especially in 1983. there were many witnesses in all of this area, and some of them are still living. And I saw a UFO back in '75 here with a contactee group and family members. Very clearly, I'm talking about within 300 feet of distance.
So what's your suspicion? I mean, I'm inviting you to speculate. I appreciate that we don't have scientific evidence, but what's your suspicion about what we're talking about here with the intriguing tridactyl beings that we're going to see here in Ica today and the UFO phenomenon? Do you think there's a connection?
Yes, I think that there is a connection between the tridactyls and the UFO phenomenon. The UFO phenomenon presence has been with us for eons and eons. There's probably because one of the things is that there is this clash of the tectonic plates, the Pacific Ocean tectonic plate and the South American tectonic plate clashing and creating an energy vortex in this area. The UFO base is supposed to be on the inside the ocean a few kilometers, and also in the crust of the earth below, over there. Also, if I may, there's a weird geophysical phenomenon in the atmosphere, which is called the F layer. In the ionosphere, there's a weird form of the ionospheric layer, the F layer. It's called F dispersa, the dispersed F layer, that is researched by scientists regularly, and it seems to be more active in the evenings and wee hours of the morning, and that might be why many UFOs appear in the wee hours of the morning in this area, over this area.
So how recently has there been a UFO sighting in this area?
It's almost, well, I haven't asked the locals for quite some time, but I was speaking with people that lived here. I came here about 3 years ago because there were claims that the UFO was appearing over that hill that I mentioned, and fishermen see them all the time. I have interviewed some fishermen that see them all the time, and contactee groups come here. They go camping, they go inland camping, and they continuously have experiences.
And what's the Peruvian government's position on claims about a UFO presence here in Peru?
Well, there's a strange satellite control base from the work by the Air Force together with other scientists. Maybe NASA sometimes comes here. We control our satellite from here, and there is also in this area, in the beginning of Chilca, a little bit earlier, we already passed it, there's a rocket launch place. It all coincides in this little area over here.
Tell me about these elongated skulls.
So Ross, we're here at the Ica Cultural Museum in Ica, surprisingly, and we have what I'm told to be the largest collection of elongated skulls in the world, as in original non-human or Homo sapiens sapiens skulls. And what I mean by that is that these skulls, and you can see 3 of them here, which are the largest, they don't have a sagittal suture like we do, which is the plating of the skull, which you can see at the back where they meet, like plates. And the second thing to note, which you won't be able to see so clearly here, is the entrance point for the spinal column, which is further set back, and I forget the name of that part of the skull. So these skulls are, I'm told, to be unique and of interest.
So what's the official story about to explain their provenance? What are we told? Because they seem to be suggesting that they're the result of binding.
Yeah, this is, I think, what the story is that these people or beings were put, had head bindings or boards placed on the sides of their head from a young age to shape the skull, and you can see the imagery here.
Okay, so there is binding that was done as a tribal practice here. Right. These are different, though, from the beings that we've been seeing that are mummified, desiccated corpses in the last few days.
Yeah, these are completely different. I mean, you can see the eye sockets are much more human-like, as in like our eyes and the face and the shape of the face. But it's really the positioning of the spinal column and the fact that these skulls are elongated naturally without any sign of a sagittal suture. It may or may not be the case that the volume inside of these skulls is larger than ours, because that is something, the volume of the skull you cannot adjust regardless of reshaping of the skull.
Spooky.
Yeah, it's interesting.